Hey everyone, Beeblebum here. In the last video, I introduced you to the transfer glitch and showed you how to set up a building area in a settlement by overlapping a base computer with your Corvette's landing spot, so you can transfer parts between the two grids. Today we're going to be building on that. I'll show you how to find the true center point, create a scaffolding template, and then use that as the foundation for advanced shapes and even future Corvette projects. Once you got the template, you can reuse it for different ships without having to start from scratch every time. First things first, if you're new to glitch building, then slow down. This guide is not for beginners. I'll be using techniques like adjacency, universal adjacency, and wire glitching without explaining them step by step. If those are new to you, check out my other glitch building tutorials first before attempting this. Now, even if you're an experienced builder, this is still advanced and risky. Now, things have stabilized much more recently, but it's still smart to play it safe. Back up your saves on PC, and remember, console saves are less reliable. Honestly, starting a dedicated save just for Corvette projects might be the safest way to go. And above all, take responsibility for your builds. Overly large or unstable Corvettes can ruin the game for others in multiplayer. Finally, this is going to be a long tutorial. I'll divide this into chapters so you can easily jump back and forwards to the part you need when you come back later. Alright, now before we jump into the techniques, I want to talk about some of the things you should be aware of as well, so that in the future when you're doing these builds, you don't come across any of the issues that I have during testing. So, I want to build myself a sample of a Corvette that is completely maxed out in like dimensions. And I'm going to use that as the way to explain to you what are the limits and what you should be aware of when you're going to be using the techniques I'm going to be showing you today. Now, I don't think you need to be sitting through this, so once this is built, I'll be back. Alright, so I currently have built a Corvette that is maxed out in dimension. Now, let's go back to the settlement, and I'll show you some more stuff there as well. As you might have noticed, I built a teleporter here, a short-range teleporter, with a power reactor as well. Now in creative it's not really necessary, but in normal you might want to do that. And this allows me to just quickly transfer between my building area and my settlement. Alright, so as you can see right here, this is the maximum radius that is allowed to be built inside the space station, the maximum size. Now I've noticed during my testing that if I want to do any force or soft transfer glitches, is that once you go beyond into the red zones, you have a very high chance of it just not working. It will not allow you to glitch it over because there is no more connection between the two bases. So if I would do anything in the future, if you would do anything in the future, then I would advise you to always stay inside the radius of the gray Habs and not go beyond that. Now, another thing you might notice that I have the center of my ship completely open. I have nothing built right there. You do see my icon is right in the middle, it says my starship, and I want to show you that even if nothing is built in the center, you can also not build anything with your base computer. So let's go a little bit closer. If I go to my floor, you will notice that I'm not allowed to build anything here. It says too close to the starship. That's going to happen here, that's going to happen here, this is going to happen here, and it's going to happen here. Now you will be able to do some of it in the corners, but it's not perfectly centered. If I want to bring it to the center of where the hab should be, then I cannot build it there. So this area, the center point, is blocked away, is a no-go zone for building base computer parts. Now I'm gonna go back to the space station. I'm gonna change the Corvette to a little bit to be a little bit more manageable. But before we do that, we want to prepare a little bit of an area where we can put our lights on top of the base. So when it gets dark, you actually see what I'm doing. And also for you, if you want to do any more building, it might be handy to just have a bit of a setup for that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to build a wall here and extend it up. And we're going to build a few walls on top of it, so that we're going to have a lot of space between our lights and our building area. I'll take some floors. And what I'm basically going to do, I'm going to build about the same dimension as we have from our ship. Like that. And now I'm just going to remove most of the floors again. I'm actually going to extend this a bit further. So this is kind of my setup where I'm going to put my lights on top of. Now, if you have not already, you can go to the anomaly. You should be able to unlock this with Quicksilver. It's called the Mud Hut. This is definitely one of the major pieces that has the most ambient lighting. So I can just build these on top of the floors and just use them as ways to light up my building area. Whenever it gets dark, I do have a little bit of light whenever I want to build on these. There we go. All right, so now this is set up. So what we're going to do right now, we're going to teleport back to the space station and let us change this Corvette to something more handleable. There we go. I'm going to remove the two outer ones and we're going to change this to green. I'm going to remove those two and change this to green. And then we're going to make these red. And we're going to make these orange. So that we know that these are a bit more of the okay areas, but not 100% okay. There we go. Alright, so this center is out of bounds. We cannot build there on our base computer. This is the limit we want to limit ourselves to when we are doing any transfer glitches between the Corvette and the base computer. Alright, so anything until the green block here. I mean, including the green block. Anyway, Corvette is done. Apply edits. If you have not already, make sure that you have renamed your starship to something recognizable, so it's easy when you're transferring back and forth between the base computer and the Corvette. It's easy to recognize which one you're building on. Alright, let's move back and let's start with setting up our center point on the base. What I'm going to do as well, we're going to prepare ourselves a little platform where we can just stand on top of with a save point, so it's easy for us to just save whenever we need to. Let's take a floor. It's already dark. It's insane how quickly it gets dark. I wish there was a mode where I actually could just build in daylight, but yeah. By the way, I am using a mod to light up the space station though. Alright, let's open up my building menu. And let's go and toggle our camera. So if you're on your base computer, as you can see right there, I'm editing on my base computer. I can toggle my build camera. And this will allow me to even build while I am working on the Corvette. Now, in case you are on the Corvette menu, you will notice that I do not have that build camera option. If you just cycle to the base computer, you should be able to open up your build camera, work on it, and then cycle back to your Corvette. I'm just explaining this to you right now because it helps you a lot to just be able to work from a distance, from a height, without having to constantly go and stand on that position of your character as well. Now you can see that my lights are actually doing a pretty decent job and lighting up my building area, so I don't need to worry too much about the sun being gone. Alright, what we're going to do right now, we're going to find the center point of one hab, and then we use that center point to transfer or move our pieces over the playing field here, so to speak, and always have a center point ready. So, let's go to our building menu and make sure you are on the Corvette configuration menu, and we're going to take a living wall. And we're going to snap the living wall in a hab. I'm going to use the last hab right here, so that I can just work on that and work outwards to the right, okay? And we're just going to snap it inside the wall. You can also do it on the other side if you want to, but I'm going to build on this side, and if you want to make sure that it's working, you might have to just follow my steps right here. Then we're going to go to the third tab right here. We're going to select the nip, and the plan is to do an adjacency glitch. The adjacency glitch from the nip to the slot next to it. Now there is nothing in this slot right here, which means it's going to automatically go back to the first one in the slot right here. This means we're going to adjacency from the nip to the standing planter. So select the nip and snap it into one of the planter's slot. Now I'm going to use this slot, which is the furthest to the right. You can use this one, but you will have to take into account that it will change your direction you're working in. I will tell that in a second, how that influences it. So I'm going to go to this spot here, and we're going to do an adjacency glitch. Remember, the adjacency glitch is cycle part and build. I will show the buttons on the screen. Again, I won't go too much into depth of the glitches. I will just explain which glitch I'm doing. If you want to learn more, or if you do not know what I'm talking about, this means you are definitely not advanced enough to jump into this, and you should go back and learn the basic techniques first before you jump into this. All right? So we're going to do a cycle, or adjacency glitch. We're just going to cycle and build, and that is going to replace the nip with the carbon standing planter. On the standing planter, you can see we do have a connector, and we're going to use that connector now to transfer over to our base computer and have a perfectly aligned snap point. So now we're going to go and we're going to open up our building menu. It doesn't matter which you're on. You can be on the Corvette, you can be on the base computer. We're going to look for the light box. All right, we're going to select the light box, and if you are on the Corvette base menu, we're just going to select or switch to our base computer. Once we have switched to our base computer, we're going to toggle to our wire. Now with that wire selected, we're going to aim on the connector of that carbon standing planter. Now you can see it goes red again, and that's because it switched back to the Corvette. So we're going to press the button again to cycle back to our base computer, which makes the connector green. Now we're going to do a wire glitch, which is going to bring the light box instead of that connector, and it's going to snap it on top of the connector of that standing planter. So wire glitch it, and now we have a light box inside our hab on that connector. Now you can see it's not going to snap. The next light box is not going to snap on it, and that's because we have moved back to our Corvette. So cycle back to your base computer, and you can see that the snap returns. Snap the light box onto that connect on that other light box, and then bring another light box to the outside. Now, instead of placing the light box here, we're going to do an adjacency glitch. And the adjacency glitch we're going to be doing is from the light box to the light floor. The reason we want to do that is because the light box is currently pointing with its connector towards me, towards the bottom of the screen. We want it to connect to the right side, like this. So, what we're going to do, if we do an adjacency glitch from the light box to the light floor, we're going to be allowing us to rotate that light floor in the orientation where we want that light box to be, and then we're going to glitch the light box back in the correct orientation. Alright, so select the light box and do an adjacency glitch. That is going to bring a light floor instead. Now remember, the connector was pointing to the bottom, and this is also the same orientation of where the light floor is now positioned. So if I duplicate the light floor like that, and I rotate it a quarter counterclockwise, like this, then when I'm going to be doing the adjacency glitch, not the adjacency, the universal adjacency. So I'm going to take the light box, and we're going to store this in our cache. And then I duplicate the light floor with the same orientation, and I do a wire glitch. You will now see that the light box is pointing in the correct direction. Now, we don't want it to be here. We want it to be here. So I'm going to remove this light floor. We're going to take our light box again, store the light box in our cache, duplicate the light floor, bring it back to the original position, and do a wire glitch. That is going to bring a light box in the correct position and the correct orientation. Now we're going to duplicate the light box, and we're going to snap 2 light boxes on top of them. Then we're going to go back to our building menu, and we're looking for the cube. Now be sure that you are on the base computer for this. You will not find that cube when you are on the Corvette building menu. So take the cube, toggle to the wire, and select the top connector that is on the top of the light box. And we're going to wire glitch on top of that, like that. So now this light box, this cube has been glitched on top of that connector. If I bring another cube down, you will see that the center of this cube and the center of the hab are on the same line. So let us remove this one again and go back and take ourselves a small raised paving. We're going to store this in our cache. We're going to duplicate this cube. We're going to bring it down, and we're going to do wire glitch. And then on top, we snap another paving. this will now bring this center inside the center of the hab. So if I snap a floor on that, the floor will be on that same level. Now, as you might see, if I bring a floor out, this floor is not centered on the hab. It is too much to the right. So let me take another paving and snap it on this side. Take note that if you used the planter on the left side, if you would have worked here, then you will have to put your paver to the left side. Extend your paver to the left side, all right? Because that is the other direction we're working. All right, now that the paver is being moved, extended to the right, we can bring our floor back like that. We can then take a small timber floor and snap it here. And then we can just move this floor back to there, snapped on the small floor, not on the paver, on the small floor. Now we can remove all of this. We can remove our light boxes. And if I move this floor forward, you will see that this floor is centered inside the hab. All right. So let's remove that floor and let's look for the next center point. We're almost there, but we still have a little bit more work to do. The only thing we need to figure out now is to get this floor centered on this center of the hab. So what I'm going to do, we're going to have to move this floor to the right so that we can move it to that position. But we want to make sure that if we move the floor, we are moving it so it stays in the center of those habs. So let's open up our building menu and look for the pavers. We're going to snap one paver on the existing floor, and then we're going to do 1, 2, 3. And I do one more, 1, 2, 3, and I'll do one more on the other side, 1, 2, 3. And to make it clear, I'm going to mark them with a different color so you can see which pavers are always on the center of those habs. So if I take the floor and I snap it on that paver, you will see that these are always going to the center of that hab. So now this floor here is going to be also centered on the hab that would be here. Okay? Now let me remove that because we do not need that for now. All right, so now we need to move this floor to here, make sure that it's centered on this hab. To do that, we're going to go back to our paver. And I have to say, the paver has been my best friend for a while now. I'm going to snap one here. We're going to snap one here. We're going to duplicate this floor. We're going to store it in our cache. And we're going to take the paving and snap it here. And then we're going to do a wire glitch. There we go. My floor has now been glitched or placed perfectly centered in the hab. All right, so now we got the floor in the center of the hab here. We got the center of the hab that would be here. And we also have the center of where the hab would be here. That means that now we have a perfect location to work from with building circles and doing scaffolding and then transfer over all that onto our Corvette. Now, to make sure that we don't lose this one, we can move it outside. But what I want to do first is I want to make sure that I have a floor that covers the top. And I want to have a floor that covers the bottom. Now, the next thing I want to do before we do that is change to a stone floor. Because if you compare that with a wooden floor, you will notice that wood is always, the timber floors are always only half as thick as the stone floor. But they are not centered. This means that they are taking the same space. The center of the floor is on the bottom of this wooden or timber floor, while the center is here in the center of the stone floor. So we're going to use a stone floor instead, so we can better see and use the line to see where we are. On this side, we're going to go and take two short walls, and we're going to snap them on the bottom of that floor, and we're going to take a floor and move it outside here. Then we're going to go and take a paver, and we're going to snap two pavers on top of that. Now we want to move a floor, and we want to snap that floor on that paver here, but these are going to cause some issues because of the snap points. So I'm going to remove these two. I'm going to copy this floor, and I'm going to bring it up to that paver. If I now go and take a short wall, you will see that this short wall has 2 snap points. And that is because this paver is slightly higher than a short wall. And because of that, I am lifting this floor a little bit up. Alright, so I'm going to snap my short wall on the top of the floor, not on the bottom floor, but on the top floor. And then we're going to move this one and move it to this side. It's now going to be snapped perfectly in line with this hab. So this is our bottom floor. So if we want to work on the floor here to make sure that we're working on the similar height of this hab, we're going to use this one. If I want to work on the top of the hab, we just need to take 2 more pavers or 4 more pavers like this, snap another floor there, and this floor is now going to be the top layer of your hab. Alright, so now we can remove all this, and now we have our 3 floors, each of the height of your hab as your template, as your scaffolding for the future when you want to do anything else on this building area. Now, before we do anything on this base, before we just start working and building anything, we want to make sure that we have these always somewhere safe. We want to have a backup. If anything goes wrong, we want to have some pieces that we can go back to and then revert to our original positions. So what we're going to do, we're going to duplicate a few of these floors, and I'm going to move them a few steps out so that I can keep them as a backup, as a safeguard whenever something goes wrong. Now, what I want to do as well, I want to change the color so they are not just looking gray. I want to make sure that they are marked as important. To do that, I'm going to use the transfer of color, and I'm going to place a cylinder here, or whatever adornment or whatever piece that allows me to put the red color on that piece. Right? So I'm going to place the cylinder. I'm going to go into my building menu. We're going to take the stone floor, and we're going to build now red floors on there. These has now taken over the color from this. Now, a funny little thing is, I've been sharing that in my streams, but not in a video yet, and I will have to make a dedicated guide about it. You can actually use your Corvette parts as well as a way to transfer over colors. If I would say I want this to be red, and I go back into my building menu and take the floor, you will now see that it's going to be yellow. Like that. This yellow does not exist in using any of the other parts. This yellow is linked to the Corvette. Now take note, the floors are a bit bugged out, as in bugged out, only have 2 colors. I think it's orange and yellow. No matter what color you pick, it will be always orange or yellow. It will do transfer over to the floors or the walls and all that, but not to floors. Just a little reminder. This is our template. Whenever anything goes wrong, we can bring these back to here and we can work again from that point. Now, before we go and start on building circles, the first thing I want to do, I want to show you how you can flip parts left and right. And this is just one step you can do, because you can flip them upside down, you can flip them in an angle, but this is something you will have to experiment with, because this guide will be hours and hours long if I would show you every possible way. So, I'm going to remove the top floor and I'm going to remove the bottom floor, because I want to have this hab perfectly centered on this hab, alright? And you will notice what I mean with that once I do the glitch. So, let me move a floor outside so I have a reference point whenever I remove it. We're going to go into our building menu and we're going to take the light floor. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to store that light floor into my cache. We're going to duplicate this floor. We're going to bring it out and we're going to do a wire glitch. That is going to bring a light floor instead to the center, and we can check the connector. Okay, so the connector right here is not the direction I'm looking for. What I want this to be directed like that. You can see the connector right there. That is the direction I want. Now, the reason I want this is because you can use the light floor to rotate wires. So, if I will go to my short wall and I snap it right here, and take note, this is the direction. You can see that this direction of the connector is pointing or oriented with its symbol facing downwards, which means if I'm going to transfer it to this side here, it will follow the same orientation downwards. So let's take the short wall, reverse wire glitch. So I have a wire, and then I'm going to snap that wire on that connector. You will now see that it will be transferring over that orientation, as you can see right here. So if I would now glitch a wire from here to that connector, it will have a perfect level wire that is also upside down. But we don't want this. We want this direction, as you can see here. So let's go back, take a short wall, reverse wire glitch, and now snap it on that wire. You will see that now the connector is pointing to the right. All right. Now that we have done that, we're going to remove this floor, duplicate this one, and we're going to do reverse wire glitch and pull that wire to this connector right here. Then we bring the floor back. We go into our building menu and we take a small wall, snap it on here. We do a reverse wire glitch and we're going to pull that wire to that connector as well. And we're going to do this on the other side as well. We're going to take a wire or a short wall. We're going to do a reverse wire glitch and pull that wire to that connector as well. Now we can remove the floor and we should be left with 3 wires. Now, if you want to learn more about why I am doing this, you should check out my guide about how to control the wire, because I don't want to go too much detail right here. But I am doing it in such a way that I can pull a wire from one direction to the other wire and ensure that I'm keeping a certain orientation of the wire. If you want to learn more, check out my guide in the description about how to control the wire. So now I'm going to take a wire from here, from the center, and I'm going to pull it towards this angled wire here. And now I can remove this wire in the center. This is going to leave us with a wire pointing to the left, as you can see right here. Now the plan here is to actually go back into our Corvette, select our nutrition unit, and now we want to wire glitch that nutrition unit on top of that connector. The problem is, and you might have noticed it already, if I'm going to do a wire glitch, I'm going to get the landing gear. I don't want the landing gear, I want the nutrition unit. And this seems to be something that is linked to me building on the Corvette first in the space station and then coming down. I think it might be a sequence of building parts or something, I'm not entirely sure. The only way I, for the moment, have figured out how to get back to the original parts is by just cancelling everything, saving, and then restarting my game. Alright, so this should have sorted it out, and the next glitch should be a nutrition unit. So, go into your building menu of your Corvette, take the nutrition unit, cycle to the wire. As you can see, I cannot cycle to the wire, so I'm going to have to toggle back to my base computer, cycle to my wire, connect to the connector, and wire glitch my nutrition unit. Alright, so this is the first nutrition unit pointing to the left. That means we can now take our wire, connect from the center, and pull out to the outside, and then remove this wire here. Now duplicate this, so we open up, so we are back into our Corvette menu, take the nutrition unit, toggle to your base computer, toggle to the wire, and wire glitch your other hab or your other nutrition unit on that connector. Alright, so now we have 2 habs prepared for it. Now you might say, but they are in the opposite direction. You don't have to worry about that. They are on the same connector, so they are perfectly aligned with each other. So now what we need to do, because these parts are still part of the base computer, we need to transfer these from our base computer to our Corvette. So what we're going to do, we're going to go into our edit menu. So you press the button for editing. We're going to move this part. We press the button for move. Then we press the toggle to Corvette. And then we cancel our move. This is the soft transfer glitch. This part right now that is selected is now part of my base computer of my Corvette. Now we're going to do the same here. We're going to say move, switch to Corvette, cancel, move. If you want to double check, you can take your pill light and move over the parts. You can see that this one says editing Corvette P1, editing Corvette P1. If I would move to a base computer part, you will see it switches automatically to base computer. So these two are now part of my Corvette. Alright, we've done. Let's save and let's transfer. Let's teleport back to the space station. As you can see, we got our 2 pieces right here, which is going to allow us to snap a Habs on top of that. So modify Corvette. And let's remove this one, and we're going to snap a Hab here, and we're going to snap a Hab here. As you can see, these 2 Habs are now upside. So if I would snap them, you can see this one is to the bottom here, and this bottom is here. So these are actually perfectly mirrored towards each other. Now, let me copy this over so we are in connection with my Corvette. Like this. Now, you might notice when I'm snapping anything on these Habs, the piece might not be in the rotation you want. For example, if I'm going to snap a thruster on it, it might point upwards or downwards, depending a bit. As you can see, this one is upwards. I want it to be downwards. Not sure if the other one is the same. The other one is upwards as well. So both of them are pointing upwards. That means I'm going to have to rotate those Habs. For that, we're going to use a little trick from Action Pants Gaming. So we're going to say apply edits. We're going to go inside these Habs right here. I'm going to take our internal stairway and we're going to snap an internal stairway here. And we're going to snap an internal stairway on this side. Then we're going to go back and we're going to say modify Corvette again. Alright, so now with the stairways in there, we're going to take another Hab and we're going to snap a Hab on the front, on the top of this one, and we're going to snap a Hab on here. Now, what I want to do, I want to move this one and rotate the Hab. One. I'm going to move this one and we're going to rotate the Hab as well. This is going to allow us now to put 2 Habs in the same position. Now, I might have to extend you out. And we might have to extend you out. And then we do the same here. Extend this one out and extend this one out. And we should be able to snap another one inside there. Now, I think we might have some issues because we're having too many of them in the same position. You can see this one is not happy with being placed right there. So what I'm going to have to do, we're going to have to bring another one in there so I can remove those 2. And I think then I should be able to snap you in there, no? There we go. All right. So now I got a Hab that is both merged in the same position. I can remove these and I can now go into my thrusters. And I will be able to flip my thrusters in such a way that they are now working as like a VTOL. There we go. So now I got my thrusters pointing downwards and you can use them as a VTOL version of your thrusters. Of course, this has way more applications which allows you to build for example, the Arcadia wing modules. You will now be able to build them like that. And you could make yourself a vertical ship with this as well, which is definitely something that is on my to-do list one day. Anyway, this is how you can control your wire, flip pieces to the side and in different directions. But this is something that you can experiment with. I don't want to spend too much time showing you every little trick here. Let's move to the circle. Now, I want to build this circle on the center of my Corvette. And as you might remember, we are not able to use any building parts that are not Corvette, anything from the base computer itself. I cannot snap in the center or place in the center of the ship. It will either say base out of range or it will say ship too close. So what I'm going to have to do, we're going to have to measure out where we want to be, remove the ship, and then bring my center point to that spot. So let's start with just moving some floors, and I'm going to work with the top floor this time because I want to build on top of this Hab. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, and let's remove all these again. This was centered in the Hab that was below here. This means I can now go and take my pavers, and we can do 1, 2, 3. Now the problem is I do have these in the way. So what I'm going to do instead, I'm going to move this one step out so I can bring it back later. And let's take our paver and do 1, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. As you can see right here, this is going to be centered on that floor. So now what I can do, I can move this Corvette away because I know where my center is. So let's just say, Corvette, please go and leave me alone. Let's go back to our floor, and I'm going to take the stone floor because it's a little bit less seizure-inducing with all that flickering the wooden floor has. We're going to snap a floor here, and we're going to snap a floor there, and we can remove that. This floor is now in the center of where the Corvette center was. Okay? In the meantime, I'm going to remove these light boxes as well, and let's remove all these pavings as well. Alright, so here we have the floor, which is going to be the center of our circle. This is the floor we do not want to lose. This is the floor we do not want to remove, or we have to start all over again from that paving. If you want to make sure that, you never know, make an accident and you removed your floor by accident, you can just put some short walls on the bottom here, bring this floor down so that you always have something to return to whenever a mistake is made. Okay, on this floor we're going to go and take ourselves a stone powered door. You of course can also take the wooden power door. We just need a powered door. Snap the power door on the side, duplicate this floor and snap it on the outside here, and then reverse wire glitch from here, and then connect that wire to your garage door. That connector is now straight like that, and it will come completely level when I remove this floor, and then reverse wire glitch again, bring that wire over here, and now we have a perfectly level straight wire. Let's bring that floor back. Let's remove that garage door. So the only thing we should have left is this floor and a wire. So now we're going to be building a circle with this technique. Now, if you want to learn more, if you want to learn about more sizes, and if you want to go more in depth, you should check out my guide about how to build circles. For this technique, we're not going to go in that much depth. We're going to make a 16-sided circle, and that is going to be it. All right? So what I'm going to do right now, we're going to take this floor, and we're going to snap it one step out and one step to the right. And then we're going to do a reverse wire glitch from here, which is going to bring a wire instead. And we're going to bring that wire to the center point of this floor. Now, you might notice that when I'm snapping it, this connector kind of switches away from the center. Don't worry about that. The wire is in the center of the floor. I cannot really see it because it's pretty bright today. But if I snap it here, it should be in the center. Now, once you have the floor from that position, you snap it on the center. We're going to do a wire glitch again, because the floor that we just used to make that reverse wire glitch is still in the memory of the cache. So if I do a wire glitch, that floor will be placed back like that. So now we have a 45-degree angled floor perfectly centered inside this floor here. And this is the beginning of your circle. This is currently an 8-sided circle in between quotation marks, but this has 8 sides right now because I can just extend them to make an 8-sided shape. But we're not happy with that. What I'm going to do, I'm going to bring a floor on the outside here. I'm going to do a reverse wire glitch. I'm going to bring that wire to this connector right here, and we're going to do another wire glitch. So now we're going to have a 45-degree angled floor there, and we're going to use these 2 sides to bring them back to the center. So I'm going to do a reverse wire glitch, and then bring it to the center here, and wire glitch it back in. Reverse wire glitch, and bring it here, and do another wire glitch, and bring it back in here. And that is going to give you a 16-sided circle. As you can see, I now have 16 sides on this. Now, we cannot just extend the floors, because then we're going to have a problem where the distance is not correct. You will see that the Habs were a little bit larger than the floors. So what we want to do, we want to use the same techniques we have been using to shift these floors into the center points of the Habs all the time. So for that, we're going to go back to our paving. We're going to take our paving, and we're going to snap it on the floor of that circle. We're going to have to do this on every side until we have a complete circle. So we're going to start with 1, and then we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And the same on the other side, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Then we're going to duplicate one of the floors and snap it on the outside of those. Okay? You will see that, as you can see, that I have these equal jumps between them. Once you're happy with that, we can remove these away. And now we just need to go to the next angle, which is here. So you can see I have a next angle there. Now I can remove this and we do the same again. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Take the floor and snap it there and snap it here. Always make sure that you follow the same orientation of the floor against the paving. So I cannot put that floor there, otherwise you will have a skew circle. You need to follow the same line, okay? So remove these now, and we can do this again on the other sides as well. Alright, so now that I have explained at least 2 of them, I think you should have a bit of an idea of how it works. So let me just continue doing that off recording, and we'll see you again once the circle is completed. Alright, so that is my complete circle. That's 16 sides. You can see that the floors are actually perfectly matched where the Habs would be, and it also has the right distance. Now, what's next depends a bit on what you want to do from here on onwards. Depends a bit on what is the application for the circle you just built. Now, before we're going to go into showing what you can use for it, I'm going to extend my circle 1 step outwards so that I have a backup of my circle. When I remove a floor, I can return that piece to the spot. So let me show you what I mean. Let me just remove this floor here, and we're going to do a reverse wire glitch from here, and we're going to bring it over to this wire here. So now we got a wire perfectly in the center of this floor where a hab could be, right? So the connector we have right there would now be the perfect position for us to glitch a nutrient unit on that. Now the Corvette itself is not here, so I don't have access to that build part, which means I'm gonna have to travel back and forth to the space station and then back to the settlement so that the Corvette is back into its original spot. Alright, so space station. Once at the space station, we just teleport back to the settlement, and that should just reset the position of that Corvette. So see you when I'm there. Alright, back at the settlement, let's teleport. Now you can see our Corvette is perfectly centered. Alright, so the wire is inside the hab right here, which means we don't really see it. So let me just duplicate and take a nutrition unit, and let's cycle to our base computer, toggle to the wire, and bring it back to that connector right here. If I'm now going to do a wire glitch, I'm going to get this nutrition unit there, perfectly centered in the floor, but whenever I'm going to snap a hab on it, it will not be pointing in this direction. It will not be oriented like this. It will be oriented like this, where the sides are outside and the front and the back are left and right. If this is something that you want, then this is the ideal solution for you. Now, I want it to be rotated in another direction, so that, for example, if you want, you could put thrusters in a circle, or you want to put anything else in another direction. For that, you will need to do a little bit more work. But if you want it like that, then it's very simple. You can just put your wires prepared for it and extend from that point. Now, we don't want it like that, so I'm going to remove the nutrition unit, and I'm also going to remove my Corvette again, because I want to be able to see what I'm doing. Either way, we need to have one wire positioned in the center of one of the floors that is part of the circle. What we want to do right now is we want to make sure that we have a wire that is directed along this line, and then from the center here, along this line, and then from the center, well, yeah, you know, you get the picture. To do that, we're going to have to do every time a glitch from one to the other point. So, let's take a short wall, snap it on the outside of that floor, and we're going to do a reverse wire glitch, and then pull that wire to the center of the floor. Then we can remove this wire. Now we have one wire perfectly centered here. So what we want to do right now is we want to constantly cycle this through and bring it over to the center of the floor again. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to take this floor here, remove it, bring it back, reverse wire glitch, and bring it to the center of the floor right here. Then bring that floor back, like that, and then bring a new short wall on top of that floor, reverse Y glitch, and bring it back to the center like that. If I now remove it, you'll see I have two wires. The straight one following the floor and the one that we just pulled from the center. But if I remove this, we should now have another wire perfectly following the direction of that floor. So if I would glitch anything on that, you will see that it is following perfectly that line of the floor. All right? So now we need to do this again. So we're going to remove this, duplicate it, bring it over to the center, bring that floor back, go to our wall, snap it on that floor, reverse wire glitch, connect it, remove the floor, remove the wire, bring the floor again. And this is what we're going to have to do for every piece of floor we have in the circle. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm not going to show the whole thing again. We're just going to do this all off recording, and I'll see you once I'm done with it. Actually, we can remove all of these so we always see where we left off. There we go. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, so I think I might have to do another one. What we're going to do, we're just going to do halfway. We just need 8 wires in total because we can just transfer over the Habs from one side to the other side of the circle once we have placed them. Because remember, we use the pavings to get them on the right positioning from each other. So I'm just going to do one more, and that should be enough to transfer over then later to the other side of the circle. So now we can bring back the Corvette because I need to glitch on my nutrition unit. So let's save. And let's go back to the space station. Now, I might get to the same issue again where I have to restart the game because of the landing gear. So let's go to my space station, current system, warp, and then we warp back to the settlement. Let's teleport back. Go to our stairs. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to straight on save. I'm going to check if I have any wrong glitches. And if so, we're going to restart the game, right? All right, let's go into our build camera. Then duplicate one of those Corvette parts so I can go open the menu of the Corvette. Take the nutrition unit. And let's see if I wire glitch it on this connector. What do we get? Oh, we're good. All right, so what we're gonna do right now, we're gonna glitch that nutrition unit, not there. We're gonna take the nutrition unit and we're gonna wire glitch them on each of these central connectors, okay? And normally you should be able to just keep on glitching them every time you toggle back to the wire. As long as you don't open the build menu, you should be fine. You should have one more right there. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Remember, these are on my base computer. If you take your pill light, you will see these are connected to my base computer. We need to transfer them back to the Corvette. So now we're going to do move, switch to the Corvette, and cancel that move. So let's do this for every of these nutrition units. If you cannot switch to your Corvette, you might just have to move your cursor away so you don't aim at the base computer or a base computer part. All right, so now all of these should be part of our Corvette. Let me just double check. So Corvette, 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 and Corvette. There we go. So now we have a perfect circle, by the way, ready to be used. So now we can go back to the space station. I'm going to save here in case anything happens, and I'll see you at the space station. Let's go and start with modifying it. All right, as you can see, I got my modules, my nutrition modules there, which means I can snap my pieces against it. I'm going to make it a little bit easier now. I'm going to clear some of these blocks. So actually I see a little bit more. And we're going to snap them on these nutrition units. Now, you should take a note that remember that we glitched these units onto the center of the floor. That means that the Habs are offset halfway to the right. This means we're also going to have to shift those back to the center by using the, the ductings. I'm going to extend these a little bit outside so I can actually remove the hab and the nutrition unit. This is to mainly avoid double connections and have any issues with the snapping. Right, like that. What we want to do right now, we want to use one of those ducting outlets, and we're going to snap them on the side of the hab there. And that is going to be our basis then to offset them to the center again. Alright, and now we just need to transfer this hab to another snap point. So I'm going to move this hab, I'm going to move it. I'm going to move it in such a way that the ducting is now positioned on this side of the hab. This is going to shift it to the left, but also forward, which means after this, we're going to have to use the rocket hopper to then move it back into the original position, but offset to the left, if that makes any sense. So now we have a perfect centered piece. We can now remove those again. And now we need to shift these half a block out or half a block in. It doesn't really matter. We just need to shift them half a block. So we're going to take the rock hopper propeller module. And what we want to do, we want to snap them in such a way that we can go halfway. So let's do this. You see this here? Instead of there, we want to snap it halfway on the outside. If you do not get that snap point that you can snap it to the left or the right on the half spot, you will have to rotate your rock hopper. Okay, so now we have the opposite way. So what I'm going to do before we go and do these, let's move each of these already in correct position. So I'm going to move it out and remove the propeller. There we go. And now we can focus on those four. So let's take the module again. Put them in halfway. And then we're going to do this again. Remove. And remove. And there we go. Now we have half a circle, which we can transfer over if I want to do now. So I can just use my Habs to transfer over to this side. Now take note, this will cause some issues with these on the bottom. While this might look like this is the same snap, it will not always be so, so you need to be careful. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to remove everything here until I'm sure that my circle is perfectly transferred over. And because we used the pavings, these should now perfectly match over to the other side of the circle. This means we need to do each of the remaining part that is not being placed yet and just transfer it over. Now, I'm not going to have to show you each and one of them. So again, once I'm done with it, I'll be back. And finally, the final circle. Boom. All right. So this is now a complete and perfect 16-sided circle. Now, if I want to build something on top of it, and you know what, I might actually take the long hab instead, because if I want to snap any decoration parts on it, we will need the piece a little bit deeper, so a full hab will make it much easier. Now, because the habs are pretty well located on top of the existing structure of the space station, we should be able to just easily lift the circle up and down by just placing extra habs up or lower, depending on how high you want your circle to be. Now, for the sake of this tutorial, I don't really care about the height. I just want to show you how to build the circle. I can now go to my decorations. We can go to our cowlings or whatever I want to build on top. And we can snap them on top of here. And make a very nice looking UFO disc or whatever. Now, a 16-sided circle is pretty limited. As you can see, I don't have a lot of space in between to do anything. So you might want to go bigger. Honestly, in my experiments, I feel like a 24-side circle is better. As I explained, you can check out my guide about circles in the description if you want to learn how to do that. But this size is pretty small. I would say this is more of a decoration circle than anything else. Be aware of the size, because every size also changes the amount of building parts you use. So now that I have removed the habs on the bottom, I should be able to go in here and take something else. a little bit less bulky maybe, or maybe we can do some bulky, and we just flip it around. So let's just make sure that we are flipping it on the right orientation, like this. Now, in anticipation of some of the comments that I received last time, I did make a pinned comment, but I think a lot of people missed out on that. This is, in the end, only an example of what you can do. I'm showing you how you can build the scaffolding. I'm showing you how you can get to that circle mechanic. But for the rest, it is all up to you how you use that. In the end, the goal is not to have merged Habs. The end goal is to create a shape that you cannot build normally in this game. But here we go. I built myself a quickish UFO. The advantage is because we built the circle on the base computer, we can always land a new Corvette there and just make a new circle on it without having to do all this work, because it is positioned in the same spot. As usual, what I showed you today wasn't about building a complete ship, but about unlocking the mechanics, a foundation for advanced Corvette designs. Once you understand these techniques, you can make them in any direction your imagination leads. Just keep in mind the part budget. Even a 16-sided circle takes up 32 pieces if you cover the top and bottom, and you only have 100 in total. So plan ahead before you dive into huge structures. And I'll repeat what I always say, these tutorials aren't here to hand you a finished design. My goal is to give you the tools, so you can create something that feels like your own build. Finally, a reminder once again about responsibility. Glitch building doesn't have to mean breaking the game, but it's on you to use these methods respectfully. Pushing unstable builds into multiplayer can crash other people's saves, and that's on the builder, not the glitch. Thank you so much for watching. If this guide helped, drop a like and let me know in the comments what you thought of it, and I will see you again next time. This was Beeblebum. Goodbye for now.